What's happening, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of Park Lane Podcast, where, for once, we are celebrating a victory. Let's start off just by at least, acknowledging that Spurs have just come out 1-0 winners at home against Manchester United. Tonight, you're joined by myself and the wonderful Callum Stubbs. Callum, how are you doing, mate?
It's nice to actually be having a good day for my 5th anniversary, and then Spurs actually winning. So I'm actually happy at the moment, mate. For once, compared to doom and gloom like last time.
Exactly, decent all round, and quite a few things to talk about today. We've got injury news, thank God. Positive and potential negatives. We've got protests that happened today at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to talk about. The win against Manchester United, and also next Saturday's game against Ipswich. So let's get into it. But before we start, do not forget to hit the subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like the stream either. And also go follow us on all social platforms at Park Lane Podcast or at Park Lane Pod, depending on where you search. We're on everything. So go ahead and find us. And if you're in the chat, leave a comment. So quickly bring up Jay's comments in evening. Hashtag COYS, nice. Some first team players on the bench, but also to actually get some amazing team news from Ange. And he also said, nice to see we actually play like Tottenham with the amount of injuries we had. Get a few more players back, and we're back playing the Ange way, and it'll be entertaining to watch. Definitely. But let's talk quickly about those injuries, because the news from the press conference this week from Ange was that James Maddison, Vicario, Brennan Johnson, and Hotspur were all back and ready to feature. And we saw all of them, I believe, in the matchday squad today, which is great. James Maddison, obviously Vicario starting. First of all, what are your thoughts on the fact we've got all those players coming back from injury?
Yeah, no, it's a positive step, because based on how we've been the last couple of months, it's been trying to struggle to scrape a squad together, and unfortunately Man United looked like the bench we had a couple of weeks back. So from our point of view, we was the stronger first team and the bench options today, and to have some people to come in like Hotspur, Johnson, 2 more attackers, a doggy. I mean, to be honest, I don't know how he's going to get his place back at the moment. After, I know we'll speak about Spence later on, but yeah, and Vicario, very positive, because obviously Kinski's still a very young kid. He's only 21, 22, very young compared to a goalkeeper, isn't he? So, yeah, Maddison coming in, well, we all know that paid dividends today.
Yeah, definitely. I want to talk about Vicario, actually, which is a really good start. So, he comes back, and I, for one, was slightly surprised that he was coming straight back into the starting 11. I don't know how kind of you felt on that one, but I tell you what, today he was absolutely outstanding. He was back to his probably as good as he was against City when he got injured. What were your thoughts on Vicario today?
Yeah, I was like you. I was a little bit surprised. I thought maybe he would have been on the bench, but Kinski, the last 2 games wasn't great. He was definitely showing his age as a keeper and his inexperience. So, yeah, I mean, from what I've heard, Vic's been training properly for about 3-4 weeks now, sort of thing, on and off, since he started posting, getting the cast off and the boot off. So, yeah, I think that's definitely him pushing to be there. So, yeah, it was positive to see him come back in. Let's put it that way, mate.
Yeah, 100%. It's good to see, when Kinski came in and he started playing well, we all started to say that it's going to be difficult for Vicario to get back into the side. And also it's good competition for him to have, because before that he's had Fraser Forster, who wasn't doing a lot when he came in, Brandon Austin, who never played a game in about 10 years for Spurs. It was not much for him to do to keep, to keep that spot, but now he has to really fight for it. And today I thought he was really good. There was a couple of, the classic Vicario like showman saves. There was one from Garnacho in the first half, but then there was a really brilliant stop from him.
He loves the jump, doesn't he? It's like the jump and have to catch the ball. It's just like, yeah, just kind of don't do that because then that
There was
makes
also one going into the far corner where he likes to do a flying one-handed save. That's
the salmon out of water, trying to avoid a brown bear trying to catch it, sort of thing, isn't it? But
yeah, exactly. But one of the things that really annoyed me today was I was quite busy all day, and I was on the way home in the car, and I was listening to Talk Sport, and oh my god, the amount of times that the team at Talk Sport decided to absolutely go mad for how many players United were missing and how bad their injury crisis was, and all the teenagers, and they started naming all of the players on the bench and all their ages. I've never once, and even on Sky Sports, I've never once, when Spurs had all our youngsters on the bench, never once seen them bring up a graphic and say, you know, Scarlett X age, Gray X age, and all of that kind of stuff. It's just the amount of arse licking that Manchester United get is outrageous.
the thing is, as well, is that the United youngsters are actually probably better than some of their first teamers. I'm not going to lie. I would have more faith in them than some of the players that they had on the pitch or have done this year as well. Some of their players, like Chido Obi Martin, is a class player, and he was from Arsenal. They've managed to nick one of the best young forwards in the country, and they've got him on the bench and all that. I mean, I felt sorry for their youngsters today because they probably could have done with bringing some of them on because so many of their players just looked out of sorts and all that. But yeah, and it doesn't help that TalkSport always have Spurs games on them. Hardly any games on 5 Live on the radio are Spurs games. They're all on TalkSport or TalkSport 2. And you're just like, right, you're just signing us up to be target whipping boys. I mean, I remember we had I think it was the Newcastle game on there, and they was absolutely killing us. Yeah. I was just like, come on, give us a chance, please.
Definitely. But look, to have Maddison back in today's game, it was one of those where, I've probably been one of Maddison's biggest critics. I think that he's, I don't know the right words to use because I don't dislike him, but I think that, he only ever tends to play when he wants to play. And I find him really, really infuriating.
His inconsistency. He's an inconsistent player. He's been like it all the way through his career. That's
I think that when the going's good, he's a good player and he plays with freedom and he relaxes. As soon as it gets a bit tough, he really doesn't play that well, and I think he finds it really difficult. But I thought today again, he came in with purpose, and he really wanted to make a difference today, and I felt like he obviously did that because he scored the winning goal. But I mean, apart from that, he was getting on the ball, he was making good passes. Do you think he had a good game today?
Yeah, no, I think that there was times where he was very good, but there was also times where I did see, like what you say about a bit petulant. There was some times where he wasn't on the ball properly, and I think that he was very good down the left hand side because he was sort of playing on the left hand side of that middle three with Bentancur in the hold and Bergvall on the right, and I thought there was probably 70 to 80% of his games today I thought was good, but there were times where you could see he was rusty. There was some overhit balls, and there was obviously the cynicism when he does get fouled. He does act a little bit childish for my liking. But no, I thought if he had a better option of someone informed down that left wing, then he might have been a lot more effective, to be honest, compared to Sonny, who I thought had another bad game today. I'm sorry. I didn't see anything to make him.
10, 20 minutes, he wasn't too bad. Early doors, I thought he was all right. And, he made a couple of good movements past the tell that, that was poor. But I think a lot of that front three this afternoon were poor, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I mean, I can see your point about Tell not being a front man. I think he's better and more effective on the left.
Strike at the Spurs again, I tell you what, I'm going to lose my mind.
I think he could be really effective off the left because he can run at players and he can get in behind. But the end product is showing of a 19-year-old. And Kulusevski, I thought, was a monster again. I thought he was pressing all over the place with a little bit of end products lacking as well. But Sonny was my main frustration today. I mean, I'm so glad that we've got players like Mikey Moore, Odebear, and others coming back because he just looks either devoid of ideas, knackered, or just ineffective. He runs at his man and he cuts into the middle. They all cut into the middle, don't they, and try and do that sideways ball or that right-angle goal that Ange loves. Just pump the ball in. And I mean, the most effective I saw him today was he pumped that corner in and made Onana flap in the air. So, I mean, that was quite funny, but that was about it.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at Tell, right? And I don't, for those, who are new and don't watch a lot of the show, like I don't dislike Tell, but I think for a player who was so adamant of where he wanted to go or didn't want to go, because Spurs weren't his first choice, and let's be honest about that, to come into this side and be given the chances that he was given today, he had 3 shots on target, 1 shot off target, and 3 blocked shots, right? He had 43 touches in the whole game. Now, I don't think he was terrible, but the times when he had chances to shoot, like 3 shots on target for a striker, in my opinion, you should be scoring. You should be scoring at least once. And the positions where he ended up with the ball, I felt like he should have done better. There were chances when he really, really had good opportunities, especially those block shots, And I thought his movement was brilliant. I thought at times his movement was great. But bring Dominic Solanke back into this team, and Tell doesn't play up front. I guarantee it, because he's just not. When you play one striker, like potentially he could play alongside Dom, right? But when you just play as one striker, I just don't think it works for me.
Yeah, I mean, he was skinning a lot of them defenders today. He was running rings around. I mean, let me just have a look who was in defence for United. They had,
Maguire and Ligt, I think.
yeah, Maguire, De Ligt and Mazraoui. And
Yeah.
to be honest, he had the beating of a lot of them today, which isn't really saying much, to be honest. They're not the most mobile of people, but when you've got such pace behind you like Tell, I think he'd be so much more effective off the left. He could run in, and the balls where he did run off the left and squared were quite effective, to be honest. But like you say, when he's a one-man strike force up the top, I mean, the chances that we had, that the game should have been put away, and there was definitely times where I thought the United could get back to it, and yeah, it's such a difficult one because I think maybe in years to come he'd be a lot more effective.
Yeah.
He is only 19. That's the thing. A lot of our players are young. They have a lot of learning to do, a lot of burning off for this roughness. And when you do look at it, Tell definitely has a lot of growing to do. And it comes back to the point. Chelsea wanted him, United wanted him, Arsenal potentially looked at him. Well, can you see why he came to Spurs? Maybe because we had the chances, but maybe them lot couldn't take the risk on it. We were kind of forced to because of the inactivity and unproductive way we conducted our transfer business. Because I mean, when you look at the other option we looked at, Colomani, I mean, he's setting the world alight at the moment for Juventus.
He's a better type of player for this system, I think. He's taller, he's stronger, he's probably faster, I would imagine. I've not seen them both in a 100-meter race, but personally, I think he's again, I don't dislike Tell. I just think as a one up front, you've either got to have like unbelievably blistering pace, and then teams just sit back against you, like they do against Son a lot of the time, which is why he's ineffective. Or, you've got to be that player like Dom is, that's a lot more of a kind of target type player, which is why, I regret it in a little bit now because of how he's playing. But that's why I said quite a lot of the time, a player like Darwin Núñez, for example, who is that big, strong player that can also get balls from crosses and whatnot, would be the type of player Spurs should get. Is he the answer to our prayers? No. But I mean, Dominic Solanke is a very similar stature in my eyes to him. But he's just a much better finisher.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair, mate. And when you look at it, Tell is a versatile forward. He's not a striker, in my opinion. Núñez is a striker, but like you say, the profile of player is what you'd look at, not Núñez in himself. Because I mean, definitely he's got the same finishing ability, probably as Tell.
Yeah,
in
like if
this
I'm on
scenario.
Football Manager, I'm taking Núñez's attributes, and that's the type of player that I'm getting my scouts to scout for. Personally. But let's just talk about the stats today. Spurs had 57% possession. We had 22 shots, 7 on target. Goalkeeper made 6 saves, 10 corners. we kind of beat United in pretty much all areas of the pitch today. But was there a time in the match that you were worried that Spurs could come unravelled by what was happening in the game? Because it kind of we scored relatively early and then it kind of went on and on and on, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the comment from Ronnie in the chat saying a win is a win, but this fan base does go overboard over one of the worst Man United teams. Yeah, they are one of the worst Man United teams, but they definitely had chances today. I mean, Garnacho had options. I think it was Xerxes had a header which just got knocked wide as well. So yeah, they had the options, and Spurs, as always with Spurs, we make it difficult for ourselves in terms of sort of we have to let people have a little bit of a play, don't we? We can't do it consistently. And I think the first 10 minutes after half time was a little, and maybe the first 10 minutes before half time as well, was sort of when United had a lot of sort of possession. They had a lot of chances. But all the way through that, Spurs had the chances to do it because United had hit us, then we'd go and hit them. Just we couldn't hit what we needed to. And no discredit to Onana, but he didn't really do anything today for them. It was more down to our poor finishing ability where, like, if we had an out-and-out striker, we'd have probably had better chances. It was screaming out for Dom, maybe even Richie today, to be honest, as players compared to what we actually had on the pitch.
Yeah, definitely. Johnny said Teller's a versatile player, but he's not a striker. Darwin Nunez is a striker, but he's not versatile. I quite like that analogy. So,
do you want him, Johnny? We'll give you Tell if you want. You guys need a striker, don't you?
No, do you know what? I would never bash a Spurs player, and I never will. So I'm not going to sit here and say he's not going to work for Spurs. I just said, as I said last week, I think he needs to work harder to prove himself based on the way he acted during the transfer window. Like, if you're going to act the big man and you're going to act like, you're too good for us or whatever it is, right? You've then got to back it up. And if you can't back it up, then that's, you aren't the player that you say you are. And so, yes, he's 19, but I just think he needs to do better. And today, look, it's his probably what his first full start as a striker. He played against Villa, but started on the wing, didn't he? So, let's see how he gets on. Nice to see Brennan Johnson back for Spurs today.
Yeah, a lot of running, a couple of decent runs up the right hand side against Dorgu. I mean, Dorgu's definitely a new player to the Premier League, so it's not much to go up against, to be honest. He definitely looked very rusty. So yeah, good to see not Postecoglou, Johnson going. Yeah, seeing Postecoglou running up and down that wing, that'd be an experience. But no, it's seeing that happen. It's good to have options coming back. I think there was a lot of huffing and puffing from him because what was it? He came on for 25 minutes to go plus extra time. So it's it was all right, but a lot of running, but nothing much else, to be honest. I think it's the best way of putting it. And it's what we've kind of expected from him for quite a few games this year. He went on that mini run, didn't he, that was effective. But other than that, not much else, to be honest, down that side to sing home about.
No, I thought he was all right, but again, as you say, he didn't do too much when he came on. But the one thing I did want to talk about was Danso. I thought he was really good today. I thought he showed his pace well. And one of the things I liked about him is he did the kind of like Romero-esque, run from, centre back, played the ball forward, got the ball back, played it back again, and just kept running. But then later on in the game, I saw Twitter go absolutely mad when he got subbed off. But it turns out,
he had a knock.
They didn't quite clearly say on Sky Sports, that looked like he had a knock. Hopefully, it's nothing too serious. But what do you make of him since he's come to Spurs?
Good moments and bad moments, to be honest. He definitely looks like he could be a Premier League centre-back. I think it's too early for me to definitely render a fair judgment on the guy. But no, I mean, there was one moment today when I think he got ahead of Højlund or Xerxes where he actually did really well to get a foot in and push the ball back towards Vicario to collect. So that was effective. He's one of them centre backs that just goes out about his business without getting the fanfare that, say, Romero does, because obviously Romero shouts in people's faces and acts like an arse half the time, whereas Danso just kind of gets on with it. It's the same with Ben Davies today. I thought they were both pretty good, to be honest. I mean, there was one ball that Davis played as well over the top for Sonny that didn't go there, but it looked like Alderweireld-esque or Dyer-esque what went over, which it wasn't effective, but it did have stuff. So, no, I think Danso had an okay game. Nothing to write home about, but it's what you want from your centre-backs, and he kept a clean sheet.
Yeah. It's all you can ask for, really, isn't it? And I think Ben Davies is one of those players that he goes on and on and on and on and on and just goes under the radar a lot of the time. I think, I was a bit harsh to him a few years ago at the end of the season when me and Harry were talking about, keep or sell. And I was 100% to sell. And now I think that he's a great asset to have, a player that's dependable, that can play multiple positions, left back, left centre back. And, it just quietly goes about his business. Like, he does nothing special. He does nothing too badly, but he's a half decent defender.
I tell you what I did find interesting though in the game with Ben. When Sonny went off, obviously Sonny gave the armband over to Vicario. I thought he would have given it to Ben because Ben has captained us a few times in the Europa League this year as well. And I mean, maybe it's just the way that the structure works in the club, but my opinion, I don't like captains as goalkeepers. I'd rather have an outfield player who can.
I also don't like them as wingers, so it's.
Well, yeah, there is that. But
you'd rather a centre back, but then you wouldn't trust Romero to be a captain in my eyes. So.
Well, no, it sounds silly and it might come across as wrong, but I don't even know if Romero speaks proper English as a communicating language at all as a centre back. I mean, that was one of the luxuries of like when Chelsea had Thiago Silva. He could speak English. He could marshal it. He'd done so much, whereas Romero, completely different sort of thing. And you never really hear sort of interviews with Romero.
No, it's interesting to hear that, actually. I've never noticed it, but it's interesting that you mentioned that you don't ever hear many interviews because you don't. And...
No, I mean, apparently he's out in Qatar at the moment or something like that, which I saw circulating on Twitter, which is one of them weird ones. But no, I mean,
I think that's just like a bit of warm weather training. Like, it's easier to train your muscles in warmer climates than it is to die. A lot of what we read on the internet is a load of nonsense, really. But if he is in Qatar, then he's there for a reason, and hopefully, he'll come back and get back into the side. No doubt he'll go and play 90 minutes in all the games in the international break coming up.
Oh, well, yeah, we've got international break, start of March, so that'd be interesting. But no, just coming back to Ben Davies again, it's definitely a lot more effective having him at left centre back because of being a left footer, being able to do stuff as well. I mean, Ben's contract's actually up this summer, so it'll be interesting to see whether they do extend the option like with Sonny or whether he stays on in a different role or if he does go elsewhere, because he's probably our longest servant now left at the club. So no, he goes about his business. He gives you a 6 or 7 out of 10, but having him alongside Danso gives you a lot more stability. And then when Gray came on, Gray replaced Danso, not Davis. They stayed as a left and right. It actually balances it more compared to when you have two right footers in defence. It's a lot more reassuring when you look at it, even though it is against the United team who have a combined front line away goals of about 2 for the season. So it's if and buts, but when you do see that, it does kind of give you a little bit more reassurance compared to having, say, Spence or Emerson Royale in defence. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Johnny said, where's Winnie? Does he still register on Parkland Podcast map? Yes, Winnie is still here. Just changed his job recently. So, lots on in the background. And as, especially as everyone on this show does it for nothing, you can't always make it. But he will be back soon. I will pass on your best, Johnny, to him.
Johnny, we'll let you know when we find him, and then you can join us, mate.
Let's talk very quickly before we move on about Jed Spence. Again, I tweeted this actually during the game, and the tweet said something along the lines of, for all the slack that Ange, or the slack that Ange gets, putting Jed Spence at left back, whether it's forced or not, has been a real good choice, because whether he was forced to because of injuries or whether he did it because he wanted to, Jed Spence at left back has been absolutely brilliant. Probably better than Jed Spence at right back, to be honest. And I think that his fight and determination has really showed character in him, and I think also it will show a lot to Ange Postecoglou as well. And we'll really see next week, whether Ange trusts him at left back and whether he's kind of turned Ange around or not. Because you would expect Destiny Udogie to be ready to start, and if he does start, then you'll know that Jed Spence is not on Ange's radar in my eyes. But if he doesn't start, you'll see that Ange has actually managed to change his mind, and is going to give Jed a run of games, because he's our best left back, isn't he? Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's flack that Ange has got, not slack, mate. If we gave Ange some slack, then it'd be all right. So
There you go.
I'll pick you up on that one. But no, definitely Jed. I mean, that's in these last two Premier League games. That's 2 Man of the Match awards. Yeah, he weren't great against Villa. He wasn't great against Liverpool. So kind of have to take it.
In the home game against Liverpool, he had Salah in his pocket.
Brilliant.
So,
yeah, it was just away from home that I think everyone had a bad day that day, and it was just set up completely wrong. But we can only look forward, and with a doggy coming back, I don't see him being thrown straight in, to be honest, because especially with the hamstring injuries that he's had, I think he's going to need a couple of weeks to get back up to speed, to be honest. I mean, he hasn't kicked a ball since probably mid-November, December maybe. And with Jed in the way that he is, if he does come back, does Jed take Porro's place? Because I thought Porro had a good game within reason today. He wasn't great, but he had a good game. But yeah, Jed has been everywhere, and I wonder whether to deploy Jed further forward, maybe.
right.
If he's not, if we've got a fully fit defence, do you take a punt and play Jed as a left or right winger? Because he has been an attacking wing back before for Forest, for
I mean, Ange
Middlesbrough.
doesn't, but I know that he did put him further forward in the Liverpool game. Okay, it was late on, but he did push him further forward on the right.
He scored against Coventry as an attacking winger as well earlier in the season to get.
I don't think Ange does, but you could do. It's not a bad, use of his skills. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely options out there, and I mean, like David Clark said, Vicario, Spence, Danso, Bergvall, all brilliant. Maddison was good. I'd say Kulu, for at least his pressing and his versatility that he showed, was pretty good in my opinion. But yeah, there were a couple of passengers, and the front three definitely were. But no, I mean, with Jed, I think he's staked a claim now, and I think that if Conte had used him a couple of years ago, I mean, when he was playing Emerson Royale, I don't know whether Spence has grown up since then or what, and it's been 2 years since it happened, but he's a really good player, and I think he's staking an outside claim towards a definite starting position at Spurs in at least a number of games, but potentially an option for England, because I mean our fullback options ain't great. I mean, there's England actually have a left back that can stay fit. I mean, literally, the way that they're looking at it now is Miles Skelly is the next one to come up as that youth centre back from Arsenal. But this is where I always question: should players go through the whole system, go through the 21s at international stage, and get used to going up, or do you throw them straight in? And maybe Spence has an outside chance as a blinking left back for England and for us, if need be, going forward.
Yeah, don't disagree with that at all. Let's quickly talk about. Actually, do you know what? David Clark just said something. Let's read you out, David. Look, if you can't see that Spence is by far our best fullback, then you need to look a lot closer. His aggressive running, his physical talking, tackling are far in front of Porro and Udogie. I don't disagree at all that Spence at the moment is probably playing better than Udogie has played as a left back. But does Ange Postecoglou see that? Has Jed Spence done enough to be able to, turn around Ange's thoughts and feelings on him? Because at the end of the day, he's left him out of squads for a reason. And I don't think he really wanted him. Maybe it was an attitude thing. I don't know. But if it was an attitude thing, his performances in recent weeks when it's needed to be has shown that actually he has the maturity to be able to, stake a claim.
I think the good thing with Spence as well, age is on his side because he's only 24. He came into us as a 21-year-old fullback, didn't he? And maybe being sent abroad had to mature him. I mean, look at the amount of loans that we did send other players on. Kane had to go out and mature. Danny Rose had to be sent out on loan places to mature. Carl Walker went out on loan places as well. I mean, we used to have a great relationship with Yeovil, I think, at one time. We used to send so many players down there to grow up and to work out whether they could handle it at the lower levels. So, I mean, it it's one of them that if you can like grow up and do stuff, then great. And maybe going out to Genoa, going out on loan to Rennes, going on loan to Leeds, made him mature and grow up into an adult. Because if it has, then to Spurs is sort of the positive side of it is that if he can do that, it means that realistically we've got a good backup right back or a starting right back with Porro and Spence. We've then got Udogie on the left with with Spence being able to back up. It means then that we just need a proper backup for left back, and that could solve a long-term issue that we need. I mean, I wanted Dorgu, but based on how he was today, I mean, I'm kind of thinking maybe my aspiration for Football Manager was probably outshining it a little bit.
I didn't think he was atrocious, but I think if any of our wingers had been in better form, then may have changed things around. But
yeah.
Right, let's talk about today's protest organised by Change for Tottenham at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Fair play to everybody that went. Big shout out to you all. Everyone knows my thoughts on new ownership at Spurs, but a lot of people turned up today. So well done to everybody that did attend. From everything that I saw, it was peaceful and there was nothing bad happened. So congrats to everybody for that. What do you make of all of this, Callum? Because on the week where there are rumours going around that there are individuals from Qatar looking to launch a bid for Spurs. The rumours are that they would leave Daniel Levy in charge and invest money into that. I believe they would leave him in charge from a financial and business point of view. In terms of the other assets like the stadium that's used for events and the NFL, the F1, all of those partnerships that he's obviously brought up. The difference would be that they would then have financial control, so therefore it wouldn't really be a problem with him still being there in my eyes, because that financial control would be taken away from him, and we'd therefore be able to buy the players that we require. What do you make of all that?
I thought the protest went very well. I think that the fans have worked very hard to get into it. I know that Jay leads it as part of Change for Spurs, not Jay in the chat, but another ex-user that I follow and have been following his work. So no, I think it's very positive. It's getting a lot more support going forward now. They get a couple of thousand at the protests each time they try to do it. It's positive. I mean, I did see some grief around the South Stand today in terms of they was delaying fans going in. A lot of the fans had been part of the protest, so they did hold them until late on to sort of get people in the stadium. Whether that was related or security related, I don't know. But obviously, then to link it into the Qatari look, that's Sheikh Jassim, who tried to buy United before Radcliffe did. It's one of
Yeah,
his
but
sons.
I read today that he tweeted and said that it's not him that wants to buy it, but I don't know how true.
Well, it's hard to say. You can do burner accounts, you can do bot
Yeah,
accounts. It's difficult until a respective media outlet from this country reports it. I'm not going to sort of believe it. I know there are investors looking, whether it's a country or whether it's a group. There are talks that have been taking place because it's Rothschild who are sort of handling that dealings. Obviously, there was Staveley's group who looked at it and multiple others, but no, I mean it's always difficult. And I mean, I saw a email this week that came back from the club that circulated online. Someone asked them a question about the different antics and who manages what at the club, and it said that obviously Scott Munn runs all the business side of it with the concerts, the PR side, everything like that. Ange and Johan Lang have sort of control. They identify who the players are, who they want to get in. They then supply that information to Levy and Munn to do the negotiating stage. So yeah, okay, fine. I appreciate that. That's where the financials come into it. But if Levy is going to negotiate over fees, then that means even though the club says he's not actively involved in transfer dealings, well, he's still dealing with the money side. He's still the one that's doing the. You're on mute,
but
mate.
if it's not his money, then he's not gonna. It
Well,
doesn't matter.
exactly. So at the
Yeah.
moment, the way that ENIC does it is that he negotiates for them. If it does change with a Qatari group coming in and they're going to put someone in as a financial director or a director of football, and he just focuses on the business side, okay, Scott Munn, fuck off. Your job's redundant. You're no use to anyone. Johan Lang, okay, you just run scouting. You don't do anything else. And then the manager says the players that they want or the profile, and it will be down to the Qatari group or the director of football, whoever it is, to make the deals happen. So, okay, fine. I mean, Dave will get his blood money in, and that will move forward. But these takeovers don't happen overnight. They take time. Look at how long it took for I think it was the Ineos takeover of United It took nearly 2 years. So we will
I saw rumours
continue.
of October was what I
Yeah.
saw. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to happen that quickly, to be honest. Look how long it took to get through the Premier League registration for the Newcastle takeover as well, the Fenway group with Everton. These things take 12 to 18, even 24 months to get through Premier League regulations and all the board directives, the committees. It's not just a matter of, okay, we'll give you a blank check, we'll take over everything. Even a staged takeover by the Qataris will take time because they'll be buying a stake in Spurs, which will increase over the years until they have majority share, because ENIC still hold 80% holding. The rest of it is shares with other shareholders.
Yeah.
So it's going to
You
take
know,
time.
from my side, again, a lot of people know my views on this. I have no issue with individuals from Qatar, coming and buying, buying Spurs. I have a business that works in or does business in Dubai, and so I have no issues with that side of things. My big issue is a state-run football club like Newcastle, for example. As much as PIF they claim is not state-owned, like look who owns that. You go back, look at Man City. Look at who owns that and how they try and fiddle numbers with Etihad Airways, contracts and stuff. Yet the owner of Etihad Airways also tends to be the person who owns Man City. Do you get what I mean? So, all of that is not what I'm into. If it's going to be a Qatar state-owned football club, I'm really not going to be interested in this football club anymore. Personally, that's my personal opinion. I don't think that sports washing to take away the bad things that are happening in your country are, right, personally. Now, if it's individuals, wealthy billionaires from Qatar that are going to come together and buy Spurs and it turns out it's not like that, great, I'm all for it. I'm all for the right kind of people, right? Our owners aren't the best people in the world, right? You look at you look at the things that they claim Joe Lewis has done, for example, to get his money. No billionaire will have a completely clean slate, but from my eyes, it's about getting the right type of owners in and not just selling our soul for £1 million.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I mean, I look at the examples of like the Bournemouth owners, the Brighton owners. I think they're probably not squeaky clean, but a lot of it is self-developed. It's a lot better progression. But then, do we want a massive cash investment? Do we want a gradual investment? We have to see what we want. And ultimately, it's a business. The business can decide who they want to sell to. Whoever's going to cough up the most money, because I mean, Spurs is valued at one of the highest, if not the highest valued clubs by ENIC. I'm not saying the market. ENIC value it as one of the highest valued clubs in the Premier League, if not the world, based on the assets and everything available. So who's going to be able to cough up that money? And a lot of individuals, even billionaires, will not have that money laying about. I mean, if you're Elon Musk, I mean, if we want to go and get Musk, we can go and try and convince him to buy us, because he's obviously trying to buy TikTok at the moment, and chat whatever it is as well. And with that 97 bid, okay, fine. But it's going to be, everything's got due diligence behind it. They're going to have to do it. And to buy out ENIC, you're going to have to cough up nearly £4 to £5 billion just to do it. I think it's going to be more like a phased takeover where they buy share majority share minority to share equal to share majority over a number of years and all that. It's not going to happen overnight. And unless you do have one of the big countries to come in and take it over, that's when you're going to get a whole takeover from this. And I don't actually see that happening.
Yeah, I'm saying it here now. If Elon Musk buys Spurs, I'm washing my hands with this football club for good, and that's a promise. You know,
Well, you never know. We'll have a skywalk, and then we'll have a rocket launch on top of it as well. Be more fun than that fucking go-kart track.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on from that. Let's talk very briefly about next weekend's game. So next Saturday, 3 p.m. Actually, a Saturday kickoff, which we haven't had in a long time. We are away at Ipswich. What are your thoughts on next weekend's game?
I mean, obviously Ipswich, very good team. I still love them because they are my local team up the road from me, and I've got a lot of friends who support Ipswich, so I have a soft spot for them. I mean, they have got Axel Tuanzebe has been suspended after his 2 yellow cards yesterday, so that's losing one of their defenders. But no, they actually held on for a very respectful draw away at Villa Park. They did what we couldn't do. So, yeah, I think that we've got to be aware that we can't underestimate Ipswich, because they're playing for the same stuff we are. They're, at the moment, it sounds silly, but we're playing to survive in the Premier League. And even though we're 12th, that's only on goal difference at the moment. Everton, Crystal Palace, all them, they're all on the same sort of points as us, and Ipswich are vying to survive. So they've got stuff to play for, so we can't underestimate them. And if anyone does and thinks that we can just rock up there and have the world at our feet.
Sorry, for those that didn't see that, I just raised my hand. So yeah, you wait till my score prediction. But anyway, carry on. Sorry, Callum.
Oh, well, have I got confused? I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, we can't underestimate Ipswich, and I think we've got to go there to play to win for definite. And hopefully, we may get one or two more injury people back this week. Unless Bentancur or Danso are out, then we're back in the same scenario we had.
Yeah, I think that personally, yes, we cannot take them for granted, but at the same time, we have to also understand that they are, in my eyes, a championship team. Sorry, Ipswich fans, but that's just the reality of it. They don't have tons of money. They haven't spent tons of money coming up to the Premier League, and so fair play to them. But we have to to sit here and be positive now that we have players back and start to think seriously. And I do think that we should go to Ipswich on Saturday and we should beat them. Whether that will happen, because this is Spurs, I don't know. I'm going to jump in really quickly with David Clark, who's gone with a 3-2 Spurs win. 5-goal thriller next Saturday. So get your score predictions in, and we will do them in a moment. Dave did give his, I think, last week, but I don't remember what it was, and I'm not going to relook. So I will be using the wheel for his score prediction. If he isn't on the show, then I get to decide what happens.
Can we got to give him a bye. He was meant to even be at the game today, and he was ill, weren't we? So I mean,
no buys, I'm afraid.
Right.
Well,
you're an arse then. You're just an arse.
Yeah, pretty much. Right, let's talk about today's score predictions, actually. So these were the scores. So I went for a 3-2 Spurs win. Winnie went for a 2-1 Spurs win, according to the wheel. Dave went for a 2-1 Spurs win as well. Callum, you went 3-1 Spurs. And Wes, thanks to the wheel, went for 2-0 Manchester United. So sadly for Wes, all of us got 1 point and he got 0. So for leading at 1 point, being the new boy, he's slowly sliding down the table. So it's now Dave on 15, Winnie on 14, Wes on 7, me on 6, and Callum on 5. So there's actually a lot to play for in the relegation battle in our score prediction table. So as I said, everyone get your score predictions in the chat, and we will read out as many as we can. I've got the wheel ready as well to go through all of that. So I'm going to go with my score prediction to begin with, because I wrote it down before the show. This is how confident I was. And I decided that I wanted to go with 3-0 Spurs. So that's my score prediction, 3-0 Spurs. Callum, what's yours?
I'm thinking 2-1 Spurs, because I think the Lap will score against us, to be honest, because at least Ipswich have a recognised striker compared to United today.
No, fair enough. Let's go with Winnie first on the wheel. So I'll spin it now for his score. Oh, please stop at that. Oh, he's got so lucky there with 3-1 Spurs when he's got in the wheel.
Not
So
unrealistic.
Nope. 3-1 Spurs. Right. Let's spin it for Dave. And he's got 2-0 Ipswich.
Fucking hell, you know that.
Ipswich. Okay, and lastly, we will spin the wheel for Wesley.
Wes is going to kill us if he gets another Ipswich score.
And he's got 2-0 Spurs. Could you see that all right?
Yeah.
Because I was just on a different screen, so that's good. Perfect. So that's all our score prediction for this week. So just to round that up, I've gone for 3-0 Spurs. Winnie's gone for 3-1 Spurs. Dave has gone for 2-0 Ipswich. Wes has gone for 2-0 Spurs. And Callum has gone for 2-1 Spurs. So
you know how this is going to go now. Dave's going to bloody get this, isn't he? We're going to have a stinker up there, and he's going to get the points. I hope not, but you know that this could be a banana skin for us. We could have a great game today. Well, not a great game, but we could think that we're hopefully taking a big scalp in United, got some crucial points, and then we just go to Ipswich and blow up everything again.
Yeah. Look, let's hope we don't. Jay's also gone 2-0 Spurs, so positivity around the place. And look, what's there not to be positive for? That kind of, though, wraps us up, I think, for the end of the show. Unless you've got anything else for us, Callum?
Just one, actually, from today. Someone I was actually really disappointed with in the United game. Pape Sarr. I don't know what has happened to him recently, because obviously we was, even at the start of this season and last season, he looked like a cracking young defender, or not defender, midfielder. But I know he's had injuries, but there was a number of moments today where I thought, what the hell is happening? And the same for Basuma as well. I would have liked, if Danso wasn't injured, to have seen Gray come on instead of them two in that midfield area to give him a chance, because I really didn't see anything that inspired me compared to seeing Bergvall, Maddison and Bentancur in there today, to be honest. Them two had, nearly half an hour on the pitch, and there was nothing at all that I
Yeah.
saw that sort of inspires me to say, okay, right, if one of them three that I said before is out injured or not playing, that them two could change a game. I don't see it. I don't know where their best position is now. They're kind of just utility players that we can half rely on as such. There was a moment where the ball was going out for what was it? I think it was going out for a goal kick, and somehow Sarr just got onto it and skewed it out for a corner as well. And he just smirked as if to go, "Oh, my bad."
Yeah, he reminds me this season a little bit more Bambi on ice than Yaya Toure, which before was kind of how what I thought he resembled. But look, I think it's been a difficult season for him. I think our midfield has been so mixed due to like injuries and other things like that. He's not been able to have a good run of games. I don't think we should snag anyone off apart from Tell. No, I'm joking. Early doors. But yeah, let's see how he gets on in the next couple of years. He's a young kid, so let's see how he gets on.
No, that's fair. I mean, to be fair, if you want someone to slag off, apparently Timo Werner could be back in the next couple of weeks as well. So
We like
imagine
to hear.
if we have him and Tell up top. How's that going to him, Tell, and Son, or him, Tell, and Johnson? How's that going to go down for you?
Yeah, that's for another pod, I think, mate. Right. On that note, we will wrap up. But I want to thank every single person that's tuned in, today and previous weeks, and keep sharing the love on all of those short videos that we post every day on all social media platforms. We do really appreciate all your feedback. So get your comments in, your likes in, all of that good stuff. But Callum, how can everybody find you?
Yeah, no, you can find me at Callum Stubbs 97 as usual, mate. I've got a couple of podcasts that I'm on this week reviewing this game and the City game next week as well. So no, that should be good. And just go and find me on X.
Perfect, mate. Jay has said, when is the next FIFA stream? Well,
When we
currently
find Winnie.
Yeah. Well, as you can see, I'm not in my usual place. Currently, I'm having the electrics done in my house, some renovation works. So as soon as that's done, which will hopefully be in a couple of weeks, then should be back. Before then, I'm trying to get us. I'm working on some different things in the background to try and get those streams on all, on all platforms. So it's hopefully going to get over onto TikTok and other things like that. So keep your eyes peeled and we'll see what we can do. But it's definitely something that we will bring back for sure. If you want to follow me, you can follow me, Luke_Park Lane. But more importantly, find us Park Lane Podcast or Park Lane Pod on all social media, including your podcast platforms, wherever you get them from. And until next time, a massive come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.